Now, with this new export raw data into Excel feature, any report, it extracts the data from the report into a nice, clean, grid style report. Over 200,000 businesses running this.
Or the fat tire.
Or fat, what did I say, flat? Sorry.
If any of the operations that you're doing require the use of an outside processor or subcontract vendor, that is not supported with Assembly.
Don't be afraid to talk to your partner.
Today, we're drinking Arrogant Bastard Ale.
Oh. I want to know why Jim picked this beer over the other one.
Because I really think it resembled, my personality more than anything else.
Level 3, Knuckles has been dispatched. He's on his way.
I think one of the benefits and detriments all at the same time is the visibility that it gave us into our actual data.
Welcome to another edition of A Shot of Business Central and a Beer.
Hey everybody, welcome to another podcast episode of A Shot of Business Central and a Beer, where we always bring you the latest Business Central news. We spotlight a feature of Business Central and then try out and review an app that is usually from AppSource. Today, we're obviously going to be bringing the news. We're going to talk about what's new with the 19.0 release, release wave 2, 2021 release wave 2. We're going to talk about the Teams integration in Business Central. And also, we're going to talk a little bit about some apps on AppSource and apps that are not on AppSource. But before we get into all that, I'm here as usual with my trusty co-host, Ken Sebahar. And Ken brought the, the beer is what you could say for today.
I did.
Tell us about what you brought. What's going on?
Refreshments?
Yeah, refreshment. There you go.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. It's my favorite day of the month. And so we're going to do something a little bit of different twist on our drink here. We're doing kind of a tribute to the classic American shot in a beer. And I do realize that, Americans may not have came up with the idea of the shot in a beer. But I guess there's an Irish version, which is Jameson and Guinness, right?
The Irish car bomb.
Yeah. So, but we're doing it with the king of beers.
That's right. The
Budweiser, Bud Heavy. Some people refer to it. And the side with a sidecar, Jack Daniels.
Yeah.
So
now I would say that we're not going to do it just like an old Irish car bomb, right? Where they would drop it into the glass and chug it or whatnot.
No, yeah. So it's funny. I've always thought of kind of what you're talking to is, I think, commonly referred to as a boiler maker, right? And so I've always known a boiler maker to be, you have a glass of beer, you have a shot of whiskey, you drop the shot glass into the beer and chug it.
Yep. Exactly what I used to do.
And on the internet, and this, I don't know, maybe this is, the internet's always correct, right? Everything you read on the internet is true.
Yep.
They try to make it seem like any way that you're drinking a shot of whiskey and a beer, that's a Boilermaker.
So as long as you have beer and whiskey together, well, not
right. That's a Boilermaker, right? And
so meaning you could sip on the shot of whiskey as you sip on the beer, and it's considered a Boilermaker.
Yeah, and in theory, the Boilermaker name comes from, they say in theory that in the 1800s, steam engine workers, aka Boilermakers, were fond of this drink. End of the day, go to the bar, order up a shot and a beer.
Really?
Yeah. Although there's, questions to that whether that's,
the truthfulness
whether that's actually legitimate.
Right.
But yeah, so we're going. I know this is definitely not. I wouldn't call this a craft beer.
No, not at all.
By any stretch of the imagination.
I'm excited. I haven't had a regular beer in probably 2 years. And this is an old school beer. So I'm actually going to go old school with the way I drink it right out of the can, as it was meant to be.
I think that's a good point. Yeah, I'm pouring it here. Just poured it into a glass. Yeah, typical, lager. A little bit of head on the top there.
Yeah, nice and yellow color.
Yellowish color. I feel like, it smells like I'm at a ball game.
Yeah, there was a period there for a little while when I was not too big of a fan of Budweiser because they replaced Old Style at Wrigley Field and for
Yeah.
the Cubs. But you
got
know,
over
it's
that?
grown on us. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been 8 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, the color's good. The smell, I'll tell you what, the smell smells pretty good. You know, when I was younger, I wasn't really a beer drinker, and I would smell it and like, oh my God, it's terrible.
Yeah. No,
But now it's
smells like a beer I'm about to drink at a baseball game
yeah.
or
It
football
does.
game.
Well, it's
All
good
right,
to sip and
well,
a taste.
I'm gonna-
How you doing it first?
Let's toast on the shot here and then
All right.
chase it with a little
To
bud.
Business Central.
To Business Central, 2021 Wave 2.
There it goes.
There we go. Pretty smooth. So Jack Daniels, the old number 7,
Not bad.
Tennessee sour mash whiskey.
I bet it would actually taste really good dropped into a glass of beer. If you're not a Jack Daniels fan, right? Because Jack Daniels has a little bit of harshness to it. I want to say, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where the beer is really smooth. So I think together they would balance each other out well. I'm a Jack Daniels fan, so
Yeah, I'm not usually, unless I've got a mixer, I'll drink whiskey. I'll drink like a real good bourbon on the rocks.
yeah.
Whiskey though, usually I'm shooting it, or I've got a mixer, maybe some little Sprite or ginger ale or something.
I'm the same way. I don't really drink it on the rocks unless it was the honey Jack Daniels. It's a little bit sweeter, not as strong, but I love Jack Daniels for mixing.
Yeah.
Well, let's get back to Budweiser. So a couple little things I found out about Budweiser. It's owned and produced by Anheuser-Busch. Ken alluded to the slogan earlier, King of Beer since 1876. Let's see, it's 5% alcohol, 145 calories, has 0 grams of fat, if you're watching
Oh,
your figure.
watching my diet.
Yeah. But 10.6 grams of carbs per 12 ounces. Did you know that Budweiser is, what do you think Budweiser is? When you think of Budweiser, do you think of anything else? I mean, you see like the Super Bowl commercials.
Ads.
Yeah, the Clydesdales, right?
Commercials.
Yeah, the Clydesdales, the horses.
Clydesdales. Don't you have the frogs?
Well,
Isn't
that was
there
a great
frogs
commercial too. The
going on here?
Bud, yeah. But the Clydesdales, I guess, is their whole thing. It's been going on since 1933,
Sure.
and they were given to the owner of Budweiser as a gift in a celebration of the repeal of prohibition. So
Yeah. Have you ever been to St. Louis
I have.
and been in the area there? And we've kind of went to visit the Anheuser-Busch
I didn't do that. but I did
brewery, and I mean, they put on a good show there. If you go there for like a tour, and they've got bars and restaurants and stuff you can go to.
Yeah.
But what I found interesting is just it's old, right? It's been there forever.
Mhm.
Old big red brick buildings,
Yeah.
and many of them, right? It's like
Huge
the
corporation,
entire
yeah.
neighborhood is various Budweiser production facilities, warehouses, and it's a very old section. You can just tell that it's been around.
Yeah.
Even though houses, the houses are all. I mean, they
Really?
look like they've been there for 100 or more years.
Now, did you try the beer when you were there?
I
I'm
did,
assuming.
yeah.
Now, did it taste different? Getting it right there as opposed to.
did. I'm not a huge Bud fan. Was always more of a Miller Lite or Miller fan. Back in the day, they had a beer just called Miller.
Yeah,
like a red
less
label
filling
on
taste.
it,
Yeah.
And I had a buddy who worked up in Milwaukee, and I would go visit him, and he would get fresh beer from the Miller
Yeah,
factory,
so close.
and we could taste the difference.
Really?
Now
Hmm.
down at the Bud facility, not as much. I was expecting that I would be able to taste just better, more freshness with it, but I didn't really.
It's either a testament to how good they produce their stuff.
Maybe that it's no different whether
Right,
you get
right.
it at the liquor store or there. Right.
Oh, too funny. So I went on Beer Advocate and looked up some of the scores for Budweiser, and no surprise here. Beer Advocate they seem to hate like domestic regular beers.
Oh,
They're all
yeah,
about like
haters.
crafts, whatever. I think they gave Corona 52 or whatnot as a score. So Budweiser's score is 56, which in their book is labeled as awful.
Mhm.
I want to read a quick review. There was some great reviews on that page. by the way, but this is one that I thought was kind of a little bit funny. So it says, not as bad as Bud Light, but still bad. Has the moldy bread taste, not as strong. Speaking of strong, this beer certainly isn't strong in flavor. I like plain wheat beers, heck, even some cheap ones. But this is just so weak it has no right calling itself the self-proclaimed king of beers. When Europeans and other foreigners think of American beers, they probably think of this. And I get what they say, our beer is weak. They obviously haven't tried a good craft brew, or even at least a Blue Moon or something. So I love how Blue Moon is.
Why does Blue Moon always get
the coup de grace, right?
wedged in there somehow?
And then he goes on to say that every time I drink one of these, which only happens when it's offered to me and there are no other options, I simply remember how bad it is.
I saw one, it was funny. It says, from Little Pete from Missouri, says, blah, 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 blah. Overall, he likes it. But then he says, I ate a grapefruit while drinking a Budweiser. It was as good as many IPAs.
Homemade acidity.
All right.
It's hilarious. I'll tell you what, drinking the Budweiser though, let me just take another sip.
Here's a true beer drinker. This guy, who's this? I don't know. It's Modelo time from Wisconsin. It says, a solid beer with not much flavor, but so what?
As long as he gets it, okay. As a true beer drinker, yeah.
Right? He is that's the Budweiser target market, right?
Yeah. I would say if you like Budweiser, Miller Lights, I kind of group all those together. You're obviously a true beer drinker. You know what I mean? You've been drinking beer for a little bit of while before the craft phase kicked in. And I'm kind of disappointed that Beer Advocate only pays homage to like craft beers, all these people on there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I'll give it, I'll tell you this much. I enjoy this significantly more than Bud Light. If you've ever had,
I have had Bud Light.
I'm not a fan.
So when I didn't drink a lot of
I'd rather
beer,
drink this.
I would, all those beers, Bud Light, Miller Light, Budweiser, they all tasted exactly the same to me. Now though, that I've learned a little bit more
You're a
about beer.
connoisseur?
No, not a connoisseur yet. Maybe a sommelier. No, not sommelier. Yeah, but I don't know. It might. To me, this beer tastes pretty good. It's very easygoing. Work really good on a hot day. I'm not disappointed at all by
Yeah,
it.
look, they're trying to appeal to the largest group of people possible,
Mhm.
right? That's what they're doing. Whether
Yeah.
Miller Lite, Bud Light, Budweiser, Coors, right? They want to build a medium,
Yep.
balanced beer, not too far in any one direction on any characteristic,
Exactly.
just right down the center.
Yeah.
And I think it does that.
So do I. And I'm,
like it.
I haven't priced it lately, but I'm assuming it's cheaper than a craft beer. I'll tell you what, it's not bad. It's really light though, compared to some of the beers we had. Like, it's not strong at all.
No.
It almost starts going borderline. It's more towards the non-alcoholic beer taste than it is to like most of the craft beers that we've actually had.
Yeah, a stout or IPA.
Yeah,
one of those types of
complete
things.
different.
Yeah.
I like it. So for me, like you said, the look isn't too bad. It's like a lemonade-ish type of look. The smell's pretty good. The taste isn't bad. My score is actually going to be higher than what I would have anticipated from the
Let's
beginning.
wrap up this segment here with a Stump Michael question.
Oh, is it about beer? We're going into Business Central.
Yeah, it's beer, and it's an oldie but a goodie.
All
It's
right,
not
let's
the
have it.
first. It's not the first time.
Okay.
Are all Pilsners lagers, or are all lagers Pilsners?
Okay. So I know we've had a question like this before. I'm not sure if it was the exact same question.
Literally.
Literally. So, okay. So I'm going to say the answer is, I think I said no before. So I'm going to go with yes this time. Am I right or am I wrong?
Well, it was which one?
All right. So are all beers?
Are all lagers Pilsners,
Okay.
or are all Pilsners lagers?
So I can't just say no and get like cash right.
Right. Nice try.
So I'm going to say all Pilsners are lagers.
Correct.
Oh,
Very
look at
done.
this.
Yeah.
1 for 25. Finally.
I like it. Yes, that's right. There's various types of lagers. Pilsner is one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So not bad. So we're going to do our reviews now. We want to save them to the end.
Let's wait. Yeah. Let's
All right. Well, you liking it or no?
Make people stay tuned and
All right, for
Wait
all you
for
beer
the end.
drinkers, pay attention.
Wait for the very end. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Coming up soon.
Right, yeah.
Coming up soon, we're gonna rate Budweiser.
Right. You've got at least, I'm going to say, an hour
It's
to
gonna
put down some beers. Let us know how you
it's
think
gonna
about it.
keep people tuned in for the rest of the show.
All right, sounds good. So up next, then, we're going to talk about some of the latest and breaking Business Central news. We got a few things for everybody, so stick around. We are back for the shot of Business Central. We've got a pretty good lineup of news for Business Central today. I'm going to start it off with the 18.3 Business Central update that I believe happened to pretty much everybody during the month of July. It had a lot of different hot fixes and feature changes and whatnot. Had actually a good amount of feature changes like service-to-service authentication, dimension issue detection and repair tool, and integration of Word templates, data administration and cleanup tasks page feature, and integration of Word templates with interaction templates, which is funny. When I looked at both of them, they're exactly the same. So maybe it's a misprint.
So the integration of Word templates with interaction templates, this is actually the restoration of a feature that existed in Dynamics NAV years and years ago,
Yeah.
where you could create a campaign segment
Mhm.
within the CRM module, target a group of contacts, and then email them out
The
emails,
template, yeah.
messages, campaign messages through email, through Outlook, and using these Word templates, Word layouts. And so that's really cool to see that they've actually brought back that functionality.
So do you happen to know, so they have on the feature update listed integration of Word templates, and then down the line, they have integration of Word templates with interaction templates. But when I looked, I believe it's the exact same thing. So do you know if there's a difference or if maybe they just misprinted?
Yeah, it does look, you're right. It looks very similar.
Yeah.
It actually is the same description.
Yeah, exact same description.
So I think it's a duplicate.
Okay. All right. So they also had upgrade to certificate-based service-to-service authentication for Dataverse and Dynamics 365 integration. Get report into Excel from request-based feature. Save report data set to Excel from the request page feature. And finally, two of our favorites that we actually want to talk about. And the first one is being export any list part to Excel. And then after that, we're going to talk about the Business Central database capacity changes that went into effect July 1st. But Ken, take it away with export any list part to Excel. I know you tried it out and you really liked this feature so far.
Actually, so I that was what I said I was going to talk about, but I'm actually going to talk about because I made a mistake, the get report raw data into Excel from the request page.
It's okay.
So-
This podcast isn't scripted.
So if you're using Business Central, right, you could go run a report over the past several years, and any report you could say, okay, I want to save this report as a PDF or a Word document or an Excel file.
Mm-hmm.
And if you set, let's say, the inventory valuation report into Excel, it would include like page headers and footers that were all where fields were merged together. And it was very difficult to use. But then there were some reports like an aged accounts payable, aged accounts receivable report, or trial balance, where there was actually a little checkbox and it would say print to Excel. And you could say print this to Excel, and then it would put it into this nice grid style format. But that was only for a couple reports. Now, with this new export raw data into Excel feature, any report, when you go say, okay, I want to, you open the report request page, you say send to, you actually now have two options. Send to Excel with layout and data, or data only.
Okay.
And when you send data only, it extracts the data from the report into a nice clean grid style report. So you can take that, build pivot tables, totals, sort it, do whatever you need to do with it.
So you're saying the reason why you don't want the headers is because it
Yeah, you
combines, you can't do the
you
Excel
can't do a
functionality with-
sum on
Gotcha.
like the total amount column because it's got all these merged cells in there. So it's difficult to take the source data and manipulate it or expand the use of it.
So it's a pretty big change.
Huge. I mean, basically any report you run now, you can export that raw data from that report set into an Excel grid style report. So yeah, this is one of the features that I think was targeted to be available. But I mean, yeah, this is huge because a lot of those reports is pulling data from multiple tables. So there's a lot of logic that's built into those reports. So it's like now you get the best of both worlds. You can run the reports, pull the data, but now open it in Excel in a clean, usable format. If you want to do charts, graphs, or whatever, pivot tables off of it.
Real nice.
So,
All right. That's one of the features I want to talk about. The next one is the storage database capacity changes to Business Central. I don't know, would you say that most people using Business Central, if you take all the companies as a whole globally, don't have an issue currently with the database storage?
yes, correct.
I'd say most don't.
Yeah, I'm not aware of very many people, if any, that have had issues with where their database is outgrowing the available capacity.
So which is kind of surprising that Microsoft would make a change like this, but they did. And what they did is, so as of July 1st, 2021, the first thing is Microsoft is going to keep the 80 gigabyte database of storage limit and also the 40 gigabyte file storage limit, but they're also going to give you 2 gigabytes extra per Business Central Essentials user and 3 gigabytes extra per Business Central Premium user for no extra charge.
Right.
So that's pretty hefty amount.
Yeah.
They're also going to be doing a price drop for additional storage in Business Central. So the price drop is going to be like per gigabyte. So it's going to go from $40 per gigabyte, which I always thought, and I think you did too as well, is kind of pricey, $40 per gigabyte.
I'd say crazy.
Yeah, especially if you're going past this, you probably need a lot of gigabytes for your business. But they're dropping it from $40 to $10. So that's pretty big, pretty big price drop. And also, they're going to offer bulk pricing, which you're going to get like an additional 100 gigabytes will be $500. So it's basically what, $5 per gigabyte.
Yeah.
And right now at the current price, that $500 or that 100 gigabytes, right, or before July 1st would cost you $4,000 as opposed to $500 now. So that's a huge difference. That's a tremendous savings.
Yeah.
So,
and I think these are all my commentary on this all is that you're right. They're the companies that have started using Business Central, they've deployed Business Central online. Generally, they're starting with a small database and they're starting to grow. And the database grows over time. But I think this speaks to the success of Business Central Online in that there's a ton of Dynamics NAV or maybe GP customers out there that have, let's say, 120 gig databases or 200 gig databases. They're now saying, hey, you know what? This looks like a good solution for us. We do have a concern about the size of our database. And so now if you have 50 users, right, you're paying for 50 users, you've now got the 80 gig plus on Business Premium, if you're doing manufacturing, 150 additional gig. So you now got 230 gig, which is a lot. Plus you still need more. Great. Add another 100 gig for a relatively small price point.
And plus, correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of the storage files, whatnot, I can't remember what it's called, are not included anymore.
Attachments
are not included in the storage capacity.
Yeah, when you add an attachment to like a customer record, like a sales certificate, a resale certificate, or an image of an item, let's say, or a drawing, those files are not counted as part of this space. So it's a huge change, and it's to encourage those customers that for years have been running on-premise solutions. Now it basically eliminates that as a potential barrier for them to say, no, that's why we're not moving. Right. It's like now that argument's gone.
Yeah, you bring up a good point too. Like, it's getting to about the time where a lot of people are running NAV 2017, 2018 or whatnot are really starting to look into upgrading and so definitely a huge upgrade.
So that's 18.3.
Not too much, nothing crazy.
Yeah. Wow.
All right. Also, we got there's a change to the on-premise object range that are allowed, I guess, for Business Central on-premise. Ken, I know you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. Yeah, thanks. So what this pertains to is if you're running Business Central on premise, they've expanded some custom object ranges that are available to be used with Business Central on premise. I think there were some issues out there when you were running this with the available objects that could be used. So that Microsoft has made some changes to eliminate some issues that some partners and customers were having. And that really, again, that only related to the on-premise Business Central version.
Right.
So
not bad at all. All right, and then next up we've got there's a new promotion called the Bridge to the Cloud promotion. I say new, I guess relatively in a loose term, because it's basically the same thing as I can't remember the actual name of the promotion, but it was the promotion where if you were wanting to not pay your enhancement plan upfront for the entire year, you could switch to a cloud-based version, have the cloud version and the on-premise version, but pay the enhancement monthly. But your enhancement had to equal, the same amount of money within your user's cost or whatnot. It's kind of the same thing, only there's really one noticeable change, and that is at the end of the first year, you've got an option to. Or you got a decision to make. Do you want to stay with this plan, which you can stay with up to 4 years? Or do you want to go from having the cloud-based solution back to on-premise? If you choose to go on-premise, you are now responsible for any lapsed enhancement fees over the previous year. Does that make sense?
yeah.
So, I mean, it's
The takeaway is if you are considering moving to Business Central online or subscription online.
Yeah.
And you believe you're going to be doing it within the next,
4 years total.
4 years total.
Yeah.
Then you can move to a monthly enhancement plan.
And have dual access rights.
With dual access rights, you can continue running on premise during that period. And then hopefully by 4 years, you have fully migrated to Business Central Online.
Yep.
If you think that from 4 years from now, you still might be on premise, then think twice about
it's a no.
Switching to the monthly option.
Yeah. So takeaway is you better want to go to cloud. Otherwise, this promo is probably not for you. All right.
I think that's again, it's like most people they're used to the annual enhancement plan.
Mm-hmm.
Just stay with it. It's going to continue. You're going to continue to be able to pay it and run on premise.
Yeah.
No problem. But if you're going to be moving to Business Central Online in the next 3-4 years, and you prefer a monthly payment instead of one annual payment, then this is a good promo for you because you also get a good discount on the users.
Yeah. And in all fairness, this promo, its predecessors really started during COVID, and it helped out a lot of businesses that didn't want to pay that upfront cost for their enhancement fee for the whole year, and they could just break it out into a monthly thing because of all the uncertainty that was going on with the pandemic and whatnot.
Yep.
All right, let's see what else we got here. Oh, got something?
Yeah, Business Central User Group Summit.
Oh, that's right.
Coming up October 12th through the 15th in Houston.
Yep. And Ken, are you hosting any sessions again this year?
I am.
Of course. You're loved by everybody with them.
So shameless plug. I've got 2 sessions I'm going to be leading while I'm down there. One is called Business Central Custom Reports in 5 minutes, Start the Clock. And basically what it is it's an introduction to using Power BI with Business Central Online to build custom reports.
Nice.
And data sets.
Now, when you're presenting, can you actually start the clock?
Oh yeah,
I have an interactive audience and whatnot.
We're gonna do a presentation, and then towards the end, I'm gonna start the clock.
Oh, nice.
And I'm gonna build a custom sales report with multiple tables.
Pressure's on.
And I've got 5 minutes to get it done.
Don't miss that deadline. What's the next session?
The other session I'm doing, I'm actually this one is even there's not as much pressure with this one, right? To get the report done in 5 minutes. But it's called Let's Assemble, How to Do Manufacturing, Assembly, and Jobs in Business Central.
Oh,
so I'm really looking forward to this. Yeah. So this is the key thing for this session is going to be, there's basically 3 different ways that you can do manufacturing, if you will, or create something, right? A material in Business Central. You can use assembly management, production management, or manufacturing, or jobs. And this is one of the biggest areas where we have a lot of confusion over is like, what should I be using? Can I use assembly for this? Should I be using manufacturing? Or is this jobs? What jobs? When should I use jobs? So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of make it fun. And I'm going to use a fictitious new brewing company that we're going to create called the Dynamic Brewing Company. And we're going to kind of go through some examples. Like we're going to pretend like we have a startup company, and we're going to use Business Central to get this company launched and discuss how and like when we're going to use jobs for certain things, what things we're going to use assembly for, and when we're going to use manufacturing.
Pretty cool. Did you write the description for the? I did. I love how it starts off. So if I could read the first half a sentence, it says, in this fun session that is bound to make everyone want to head to the expo hall for a cold refreshment. I love it, right? It ties in with the beer and everything. It's great. It says we will compare and contrast the features of the standard assembly, manufacturing, and jobs modules within Business Central.
And I think, I think what's fun is, it's when you talk in these abstract concepts like jobs, assembly, it's kind of difficult to visualize for people, but when you got to put it into context. So, and what better context is there than a company that's brewing and producing beer?
Yeah, it's a real life example,
right?
Everybody can relate to it. Right. It's not just,
you understand
live it out or whatever.
That you have to make a batch of beer, that you have to bottle the beer.
Yeah.
All right. That you may come up with new recipes.
Or reproducing the cans too.
A new production facility that you may be building, or a new marketing program, so on. So it'll be fun. So it's in Houston, in person. Looking forward to being there and seeing everybody.
Yeah, go on the website, sign up for it. We'll include a link to register on in the show notes. All right, let's see what else we got going on here. Oh, tidbit for the NAV fans out there. NAV 2017 mainstream support is going to end on January 11th, 2022. I don't know how set in stone that is. I think isn't there one of the other versions of NAV that were supposed to end, but still has some updates going on?
2016 actually had like maybe a few extra monthly updates beyond the original expiration date, but yeah.
All right, not too bad. And then there is a Nucleus Research ERP value matrix that was released. These are kind of a big deal because they're credible and they really do their research. So within this research, on the value matrix thing, Microsoft has achieved the position of a leader. And from directly within the report, I want to read something that it says. It says, Microsoft leverages a customer feedback model that allows the vendor to continue its customer-first approach through numerous community channels and user studies. Updates throughout the year have centered on improvements to core functionalities and IT compatibility. The simplifying of dimension editing for tasks such as general ledger entries was initiated in response to past difficulties in correcting errors inputted by users. Now, I know there's been a lot of changes, well, not honestly changes, but a lot of updates to dimensions over the past year with different updates. So I guess this company's actually taking notice and saying, hey, good job, Microsoft.
Yep.
If you look at it, Microsoft is, they're ahead of Oracle, Infor, Syspro, Epicor. They're pretty much ahead of everybody when you take into consideration everything. What else we got?
Got a couple integration topics here real quickly. I know this is kind of getting into the weeds, but there's a couple things just be aware of. If you're using the Business Central Web Services, be aware that the basic authentication method is being eliminated or deprecated in Microsoft terms. So if you're trying to use the basic authentication where you have your user ID and the web access key from the user record to do authentication. We found that in certain environments, at least, that's not available. Users, you can't connect.
Okay.
So you have to use OAuth 2.0.
Yeah.
Which kind of uses Azure Active Directory.
Supposed to be quicker, right?
Yeah. So it's a little, I think there's a little bit more to the setup, or it's a different setup that you have to do to create the connection using tokens. But anyways. And then one other note is just that there's a new feature management inside Business Central where you can disable integration records. So integration records are tables inside Business Central that are storing data that are used to integrate data between Business Central and other Dynamics 365 products.
Okay.
The issue is that if you have a high volume of activity in your database, it could cause performance problems.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a new feature that you can go into feature management and enable this, and you can actually turn off or disable the integration records. So if you're not using any other Dynamics 365 products, where you want to integrate the data, you can actually disable this. And if you're having performance problems, this will help.
So if you turn off the integration records, can you pick and choose which app you don't want it to integrate with? Or if you just turn off the integration records, it's turned off for connecting with field service, with sales, with everything? Do you know?
As a general rule, it's everything,
Okay.
But there is an alternate way that you can do integration. So and again, I don't want to get into the weeds on that, but there is another option available.
Okay.
But this has been known to cause performance problems.
Okay.
So now you can disable it. And actually new environments, I believe I saw, may have this disabled by default. And then if you want to use it, you can enable it.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right.
One more.
Yeah, one more thing we'll talk about real quick. So Shot at Business Central and a Beer has a brand new, fully dedicated Instagram podcast page. So if you're a fan of Instagram, you'll now be able to find our full show segments and the shorts all in one place. All you got to do is go on there and just search up Business Central ERP podcast. And as with everything else, you can find us on pretty much every other social channel, YouTube, whatever, Facebook. So, but this is for the Instagram fans out there. It's a dedicated page.
That was a shitload of news.
That was, and think about it. We actually really didn't talk about the biggest news yet, which is going to be our next segment, which is what's new in 19.0. The 2021 Release Wave 2 features have been released.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of news.
We'll give you our thoughts.
All right. So after that lengthy news segment that we had, we are back with, guess what? Some more news. But probably the most important news out of the whole podcast, and that is Microsoft has released the features that will be accompanied with the 2021 Release Wave 2 update to Business Central, which I believe is 19.0. There is 7 main areas of focus. The first one is application features, and then they've got better with Microsoft 365, governance and administration, development, Microsoft Power Platform, modern clients, and last but definitely not least, service and platform. We're going to start off with application features. That sounds good to you?
Yeah, that's always the most fun, right? New features, new functionality for end users.
Yeah. I kind of like the better with Microsoft 365, but
You know.
Yeah. All right. First up, we've got add additional columns through personalization and various pages to gain more insight. This is actually on one of my lists of favorites. I know it's kind of bland and it's pretty, I mean, it's not, it's going to wow you, I guess, with anything. But the way I look at it is, businesses might do business how another business does, but no two businesses are the same. I don't know if that makes sense. How can I say it? Businesses can be similar, but
no two businesses are the same.
There you go. No two businesses are the same. So the more type of customization you can do to what you want to see and the data that you need, I think the better. So if you can add more fields, more columns for things you want to see, you're ultimately going to become more productive and, more happy, have a smile ear to ear every day and whatnot. So,
So through the user personalization, there's more field options that are available for people to pick and add to their pages.
Correct.
Within Business Central. I'm still waiting ultimately for the day where they'll just make all fields available for the users to add.
I don't see why they don't. Can you control, I don't know, can you control who can add what fields and
Yeah,
whatnot through
who has
permissions or
the
whatnot?
ability to
Yeah.
use personalization?
Yeah.
Correct.
So why not? All right, Microsoft, there you go. We're gonna go put it on that suggestive idea page.
So yeah, so next moving along, one of my favorite, I think, application feature that's coming out is the ability to use non-inventory type items on the requisition worksheet and the planning worksheets. This has been something we've had multiple requests for, which is
Really?
companies that they may need to drop ship certain things, and it's like, you know, they're creating a purchase order for a vendor. And the purchase order may include a bunch of items, but also freight charges or some type of processing fee or something that they're going to charge the customer for. Today, you can't pass that through a drop ship or special order unless it's an inventory type item. So a non-inventory type item, you can't do that for. Also jobs, if you're on a job and you want to order some materials, you can only do items through the requisition worksheet. And this may be for an app, but
Okay, so obviously I'm just a marketing guy here. So the question I actually wrote down was, during the procurement process, why would you need to include non-inventory items on either the planning worksheet or requisition worksheet? So in my head, I can't understand why on the requisition worksheet or whatnot, you would put a non-inventory item.
sure. It could be like an outsourced operation,
Okay.
right? So you're actually, your customer's asking for some galvanizing to be done to some material that you're selling them, or a packaging operation or quality control. Maybe you're gonna do sterilization or something, right, on the products. You wanna be able to send a PO directly from the sales order to the vendor to carry out that service.
Okay.
So it's you know, and you want to match the cost and
Right.
the sale together.
Okay.
So yeah, it sounds like weird, like, well, yeah, why would I want to do non-inventory items for plan? Why would I ever plan to purchase non-inventory type items?
Yeah,
But
and that's exactly what I was thinking.
there are scenarios.
Okay. All right, next up, we've got the bank and payment reconciliations, which I believe is to be, the payment reconciliation journal and bank reconciliation page have basically been improved and enhanced with just some added capabilities. Nothing.
As they have been improved through every major release over the past 4 or 5 years.
Exactly.
Which is fine. They need to continue working at it. It's not quite there yet. Bank reconciliations are terrible. No one likes to do them. Even people with accounting degrees hate doing bank reconciliations. So I can understand. They want to make that as easy and simple as possible for bookkeepers or people, right? People with these small and mid-sized businesses to be able to do.
You still think improvements can be had in the future?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Next up, couple records between Business Central and Dataverse. And I guess apps for Dataverse in bulk. I took this to mean that, better data that is more accurate is what you'll be getting. So you can improve your data transferred by being able to filter and synchronize the data you want between BC and Dataverse. And also you can define which fields to map between BC, Dataverse, and like D365 for sales. So this kind of goes against the disable the integration records that you talked about before, right?
Yep.
You got to have it.
Yep. Yeah, and the only other, there's 14 application improvements overall here. The only other one I wanted to kind of mention was that they've added the ability, if you're using items and you have multiple locations, you actually now on your stock keeping unit record can specify a specific production bill of material or production routing. So because you may make an item differently at one location than how you make it at a different location.
Mm-hmm.
So you actually could specify a routing or a BOM that's different than what's on the item card on your location stock keeping unit record. So
Very
nice addition.
All right. Well, the only other one I wanted to talk about, I found kind of interesting, which is the list of trusted partner apps. I see this as a mostly good thing. So this is where partners can actually preload a list of, I guess, approved apps into Business Central for the customer to see and basically have no fear of downloading and editing to your Business Central. Because I guess in the past, there's been some issues where a customer is going to go into AppSource, download an app, and it might interact differently with your processes, setups, or other apps or whatnot. You may throw an error message and whatnot.
Now, are they not following best practices and first installing that app into a sandbox environment?
Most likely, yeah, most likely not. So I thought this was interesting. I like I said, I thought it was mostly good because I think, partners are only going to put out apps that they're familiar with and know that work. The bad thing to this is they're only going to put out apps that they know that work and that they have affiliations with. So it's going to stop kind of customers from going on to AppSource and exploring different apps. And you might actually not find then that diamond in the rough for an app. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But other than that,
like the government telling you what you can or can't do.
exactly. That's a whole nother segment.
Separate podcast.
Yeah, sorry, exactly. Separate podcast. All right. What do we got here? What do we got up next? Better with Microsoft 365 is the section I guess we'll talk about next. Ken, you want to talk about any favorites in here? You got any favorites?
Yeah, again, I'm going back to what we talked about earlier, which was Excel, and how you work with Excel. So when you export a report to Excel from the request page, you can now export the raw data without the report layout. And there's also some enhancements to the Excel add-in and how you can edit in Excel. I think those are just performance and stability improvements.
Yeah.
But again, going back, the ability to run any report and export it to Excel in a clean grid style format that you can then use for other uses. I love it.
Yeah. Excel is definitely a fan favorite. I think Microsoft obviously realized that, so they're continually trying to improve it. So that's awesome. All right, the one I want to talk about, no surprise here, is share a record link to Microsoft Teams. So from actually within Business Central, you'll be able to choose a Teams person, group, or channel that you want to share something with, and then you can actually send a message or the actual link in the message to that Business Central record. So no longer you have to go into Microsoft Teams, copy the link, paste it into Teams, and send it. You can actually do all of that right now from directly within Business Central.
That's so first half 2021.
Yep, it is. But some things are just that way with life.
Aren't we gonna be bragging about that feature next?
Yeah, probably. If it works. All right. Let's see. Development. Here we go. Obviously, our two favorite.
Oh yeah,
sections.
can I? I'll handle this one.
Oh, please do.
There's a bunch of cool development features that are coming out that are going to help developers install and implement more quickly and debug issues more quickly.
That about sums it up. Yeah, I mean, I don't, like I said, I'm not a developer, but looking at all of them, it looks like that pretty much sums it up. Everything's geared towards debugging or speeding things up. So
yeah,
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're wrong. If anybody out there's listening that's a developer and knows we're wrong, let us know.
There is one thing I think maybe it makes sense. Well, no, let's
Makes sense.
Let's skip that. So I'll move on. Country and regional improvements. Again, if you're not in the US or North America, some of the new regional or countries that are now available for Business Central are Argentina, Bulgaria, Chile, Myanmar, Puerto Rico, Slovakia, and Ukraine. And these are all partner-led localizations. So the Microsoft partners are out there creating relevant localization apps that are published to AppSource. So you can take the standard Microsoft Business Central product, use the appropriate language, and then install the appropriate localization app to provide that localization functionality. So
Interesting.
it's kind of the new model.
Very interesting. So does that mean anybody who's willing to pay in US dollars, if you're a US based company, you can sell to anybody in the world as long as they pay you in US dollars and then just give them their localization?
I don't know. That's a good question.
All right, next up, governance and administration. Sounds pretty fun just by the title. You want to jump in? You got any favorites in this one?
Yeah, I do. So one of the things, if you go into the Business Central Admin Center, one of the things that you've been able to do is create a new sandbox environment by copying your production environment, right? But that was really the only way you could copy environments.
Mhm.
Now you're going to have the ability to copy a sandbox to a new sandbox, which I can see many instances why you might want to do that.
Yep.
You could also copy a production environment to a second production environment. So because you can have multiple production environments in one tenant. Or you can, I think, even go a sandbox environment to a production environment.
Yeah.
So it's kind of any combination.
Right.
Really.
Yeah, it's definitely nice. Excuse me. Do you have any idea? I think what Business Central, you only get three sandbox environments, right?
Yes.
Why do, and this was probably the same for Nav, why do they charge extra for the sandbox environments? Do you have any idea? I understand that why.
Beyond 3, you mean?
Yeah, I understand why they charge more for production environments. It's
Takes up more space, more resources.
That's it?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense. All right. So one of my favorites, and I actually haven't had any experience with this, but I like the feature called restarting environments. I think that, if you have an issue or whatnot and something's happened, you can actually just go in real quick and just restart that particular environment. You don't have to go through the whole process that it is now. So it's a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
That's about it. Any more for you in the governance and
There was
administration?
just were 4 of those. I think we covered 2 of them there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to take the next one?
Well, the next one is Power Platform. Yeah. So, and this one is, again, this is maybe a little in the weeds for people, but obviously Power BI is fully integrated with Business Central, and you can create report data sets for Power BI. Previously, you were only able to use the default workspace with Business Central. And so there's a new feature, new functionalities coming out in the fall, where you can now embed reports into Business Central onto the Role Center page from any of your personal or shared Power BI workspaces. So, yeah, so if you have other applications, right, you've already created other workspaces for other users or other applications, you can actually now embed those reports inside the Business Central application.
That's big time.
Yeah.
And then finally, I think this is the final section, right? Modern clients. So modern clients is basically, it's just improvements to, like faster opening pages. There's one discovering reports and administration areas in the Role Explorer. So there's, it features new easy ways to discover the actions by filtering things. Not too much to really
maximizing the use of the screen, right?
The header,
the space, reducing wasted space, and making it look cleaner and operate more effectively.
Yeah, pretty nice. Do we miss anything you want to talk about?
Well, I do have the one thing within the modern client. And it's and I think for a typical end user, this is crucial. It's the description is unhindered data entry access across rows. And so what this means is, what it says, basically when you type data into, like, let's say you're entering a sales order and you're keying in a bunch of items and quantities, right? You've got like 12 lines or 15 lines to enter. What used to happen is if you type in the item number, hit tab, enter the quantity, and then tab, if you got ahead of the system, it wouldn't keep track of all your keystrokes.
Got you. So you're actually typing faster
then the
what you
system
were
was
showing.
recognizing the characters. In the old character based systems like DOS systems or Unix systems, users would like memorize. They knew like type in the item, tap tap tap, quantity 2, tap tap tap, item number, blah blah blah,
And then
the system would kind of catch up, right? Eventually.
Yeah.
Well, Business Central in the new modern client wasn't doing that, and it sounds like now it will.
Nice.
So for people who are doing high speed data entry, super efficient with keying in entries, journal lines or invoice lines, this is going to be a big improvement.
It's huge for them. So, what do you say? You got to type what 90 words per minute or quicker to notice?
No, you just got to know your item numbers and your quantity, right? I mean, I've noticed it. It's happened. I've had issues with it myself. I'm not 90 words a minute, but.
Oh, I bet you are. You're pretty quick.
Yeah, but I've had that happen.
All right. So that is.
We have one more section: service and platform.
Did I skip it?
So service and platform is the last one. So one is that there are controls now in place that will eliminate excessive background sessions from slowing down your performance. So there's configuration settings where you can limit or control how many background sessions can be running at a time to make sure your performance doesn't get bogged down. And then there's another one, it's just called OData read-only intent. And it kind of seems like, what? But this is actually pretty cool. So let's say you have another application that's reading data out of Business Central. Maybe you're pulling item data or pricing data for like an e-commerce site or something. Well, previously you would have to build some sort of web service that is reading data out of the production environment, right? In real time, and it's pulling the data down. Well, that would have an impact on your performance.
Right.
What Microsoft is now doing with Business Central is they're maintaining a replica at all times of your Business Central database and keeping it in sync with your real database. And so the developer who's writing that integration can actually indicate through their code that they're doing a read-only call and that they would like to use the read-only database replica.
Gotcha.
And so what it means is they can be sitting there all day doing reads of data and pulling data and whatever they're doing and have zero impact on your production environment.
It's pretty good. I mean, was it an issue in the past?
It could be, right? Like if you have someone who's saying, well, every 30 minutes, I'm going to pull all of the item data or item availability, right? Like quantity on hands, because we want to update our website with current on-hand inventory availability. So if you're running that, let's say once every 30 minutes and it's taking 5 minutes to run, while it's running, it would be utilizing your production environment's resources because it's like another user who's running a query against the database. Now you call out that this is a read-only activity. You can pull from that replica database and eliminate that performance problem.
It's a pretty good update.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's our condensed version then of.
What is there, about 39 or 45?
Somewhere around there. Somewhere around there. Yeah. What we'll do is we'll put we'll put our notes in spreadsheet or whatnot on the show notes so you can see what we think of each feature.
Yeah.
And then coming up, one of my favorite segments probably, we're going to talk about the Teams integration with Business Central. Back for our feature spotlight segment, and I already know it's going to be one of my favorites because I love the ability Business Central has to integrate with Microsoft Teams. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about that integration. Professor Ken is going to be leading this session, brushing up on your.
Oh yeah, I have my PowerPoint all prepared.
Yeah. It's your practice for BCUG.
Yeah,
or whatever they call it now.
No, I think so. Yeah, there's a lot of buzz around Teams. Obviously, people have been using Teams a lot over the past year or so.
Yeah, good time.
And So, and it's a Microsoft product, so you should work with Business Central. And
Why not?
Microsoft has done a really good job of incorporating that. So a couple things. So first of all, if you're running Business Central online, this is all built-in, natively available functionality, right?
As long as you have the subscriptions, right?
But yeah, Business Central Online.
Teams. I don't know. Is this included with the free aspect of Teams?
Teams, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I believe so. And then, so if you, now you do, if you want to start using it, what you do need to do is open Teams, and in the bottom left corner, there's an apps button, and then you can do a search in there for Business Central. And so you do have to install the Business Central app. And then once it's done, basically now Business Central knows that you're ready to go, right?
I think because you already have the app installed, can't find it.
So what can you do? So what are there's two, I'm gonna just do two general categories of things that you can do with Business Central and Teams. The first thing is you can be in Business Central. Let's say I just set up an item record and I did my best effort at setting up this new item record, but I'm not 100% sure how we want to do purchase planning for this. Like what do we want the reorder point to be? How many do we want to reorder when we get to that point? So I can do everything. I can set up the item in Business Central, and then up on my browser, I can copy the URL, go into Teams, create a chat, and then just copy and paste that URL to someone else in my organization. And I can say something like, hey, can you just please make sure I set up the planning information correctly on this item? And what'll happen is it sends to that person an image, like a picture, a box that has the item in it, a picture if you have it, the item number, description, some other information about the item.
So Teams is automatically recognizing that this is a Business Central link or whatever.
Correct.
And it makes that connection
Correct.
in the
And
background.
that's because you installed the Business Central app, right? And you put that URL in there. It recognizes that and actually builds in this picture of the item.
Now I might be wrong in this, but I think your login information has to be the same in Microsoft Teams as well as Business Central.
You have to be part of the same organization, right? Okay. And it is doing permissions checks, right? So if when I send this email, when I send this chat, this Teams chat to someone in my organization, they'll get this chat. They see they've got a new message that says, hey, can you check out my planning information here? You kind of have two options. You can click on a details button, and the details button will open a little window in Teams, which is the item card. Mm-hmm. And right from there, you can hit the little pencil icon up on the top to say make changes on the page. And you can actually edit the information right in here. So you can say, well, okay, they set the maximum, my reorder point to 100. Let's actually set that reorder point to 120. And it actually saves those changes into Business Central right there.
Nice.
Very nice. If you wanted to, you could hit another button called Pop Out, and it actually pops you into Business Central, the full client, where you then could go, again, you're still looking at the item card, but it's a more complete item card with other drop downs and options and things available.
It opens up another tab in your browser,
right?
With
So you actually leave Teams and move into Business Central. Whereas with the details button, you're actually still just operating inside Teams.
Now, when I tested this out, you can virtually do any link to any page that I tried and paste it into Teams, and it worked. I was actually surprised. I didn't find any page that it didn't work.
Yeah, so it could be someone, I've set up a new customer, and I then copy a link to that new customer record to you and say, hey, Michael, please set their credit limit, right, to the credit manager, or make sure that I'm not sure if they're tax liable or not for sales tax or something, right? So you can send it to the accounting person to kind of a easy, simple approval process, right? Hey, as soon as you get set it up, send a link over to the credit manager, have them approve the entry.
I think features like this within Teams need to be adopted more by companies. I think they have them and they try them, but I don't think they use them as often as they should, just because it's not habit yet. You know what I mean?
Right.
I love it. We were talking earlier. I think Teams in the future is basically going to be the hub for everything. I think eventually you'll have your email here. You'll be able to access everything through Microsoft Teams. So
yeah,
it's a pretty cool feature.
Yeah, it's all blending kind of together between Office 365,
Yeah.
Teams, Business Central, more and more. It's hard to tell where you're actually sitting.
Yeah.
Right, because you have availability and visibility through all these different applications.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing, right? Sending a link to someone in a chat to work on something together, whether it's a sales order, setting up a new item, a new customer, maybe confirming quality of a production order or something, all there. The second thing you can do is you can search your contacts directly from within Teams. Search your Business Central contacts. Yes. Right. So in Business Central, you've got, right, all your contacts, all your customers, your vendors, maybe prospects you've loaded in there if you're using the Business Central CRM system. So it's all in there. So, and this one was a little tricky for me. I'll admit it.
Yeah.
I have the app installed in Teams for Business Central, and I have a big search box up on the top. So I just thought,
cut and dry.
I'm just going to click on the search box and I'm going to search for my contact.
Yep. Right.
So I've got one called Ken Yahoo in there, which is like a different email address that I have in my demonstration database. I search for it and I get no results. And I'm like, well, what the heck?
What's going on, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there is a little trick. The little trick is, when you up in that search box, up on the top of your Teams window, you type in @Business Central first. And what it'll actually do is change your search box. It puts the Business Central logo in there.
Yeah.
And it says it says search for business contacts. And it says you'll be searching in Cronus USA, whatever your company is. And then to switch companies, you go to settings. And there's a little ellipse button where you can actually go into settings and you can change your default company.
Really?
If you have multiple companies inside, or even which environment. If you want to do testing inside one of your sandbox environments, you can change it to point your Teams client to a sandbox environment.
It's pretty cool. So you're not relegated just to the company that you're actually in.
Right.
In your.
Yep. And then now when you search, now it will pull up your contact records. And again, you have those same two options. It pulls up a kind of a summarized contact card, and then you can either hit details to see the full contact card inside of Teams, or hit pop out and actually pop into Business Central and have full access.
Yeah. I actually like how you have to choose Business Central up in the search box, because it's stopping you from making mistakes that you might make by choosing the wrong contact just for a normal chat within Teams or whatever.
Yep.
So I like how you have to segment it to find your contact.
The user has to make that conscious decision. I want to go look. I want to search through my Business Central contacts here.
Right.
Now, if you hit the little X up on the search box when you're done, it'll kind of return your search window to the standard search window. Right. Nice. So now you can search through things inside Teams again.
I don't know if you know this. You've ever seen, so that little search bar, I guess, has a whole bunch of kind of different functionalities where you can put in different characters to do different things as well. That's pretty great. There you go.
You can put a slash for a list of commands.
Yeah, there you go.
Although
you're under person or something. I think you chose person, maybe.
Oh, did I? Let's try that again. So if I type slash, I see. So if you type a /, you can see someone's activities, set your status one way or another, call someone, send a quick message.
Nothing for Business Central.
Join a team, see keyboard shortcuts, see someone's org chart, make a test call, see your unread activity, see what's new in Teams, ask a question.
Interesting, right?
Pretty
cool. I like it.
I think it's, again, if you're using Business Central Online and you're using Teams, you install the app. You can start and immediately start copying and pasting links, or use the @Business Central in the search to start searching your contacts.
Perfect. All right. Well, that's that. Next up, we've got the special featured app segment. We'll talk about a plant maintenance app that we tried to install, and then AppSource first, non-AppSource apps.
Sounds very exciting.
Well, yeah.
I don't
Stay
wanna-
tuned. There might be a little venting in the next segment. So in my head, I'm going through it as I'm talking about it, but it's going to be pretty exciting, I think. We are back for the featured app segment, and we're not going to be talking about any specific apps today per se, but last night I tried downloading a plant maintenance app. It had listed great capabilities, great features or whatnot, and it said it was free. You could get it now for free. So I clicked it, tried to download it into Business Central. The download went relatively easy, and then I went to the setup page to set it up, and it said that I do not have access to this page because I have not started a trial or paid for a subscription. So I got a little upset because it said it was free. No big deal. Went in, tried to do a free trial. Usually the free trial is probably 30 days or whatnot. This one was for 7 days. Signed up, went through it, submitted it, still didn't have access. Still, I did not receive a email giving me access or anything like that. So I want to touch upon a little bit of how these apps and AppSource really, I don't know if I could say this, really kind of piss you off by not working, or they're not what they're supposed to be, right? So I don't know if Microsoft needs to do a better job with their checks and balances with these apps in AppSource, but it seems like every time we're downloading an app lately, that these apps have some sort of issue, they're not working, or they're not advertised, or they're not what they're advertised as. I don't know if you've had any issues. I know we've had issues with this, like the address verification app we tried in Business Central, and it's actually host there a numerous amount of other apps we've tried on the podcast that just aren't working. So I think Microsoft needs to somehow find a way to better authenticate these apps. I mean, I haven't gone through the process of submitting an app to AppSource, so I don't know what the actual process is.
Yeah, I don't. Although I agree with you in terms of the potential frustration that you might encounter if you're trying to install an app and test it out. I don't know if I want Microsoft making those types of judgments on an app, like
True.
Someone knowing, judging, is this good enough? Is this going to work to get this accomplished? Right. It's kind of like they can only do so much to make all the make sure all the check boxes are met in terms of documentation and pricing and all that kind of stuff. But I think I would look at it the reviews, right? Mm-hmm. Like when you go in, if I pull up an app now, if I go in there, I'll go to the reviews now first, and I look at those. And if I don't see any reviews, to me, that's a red flag. It's either because it's brand new, right? Or people tried it and it didn't work, and they don't want to go be bad mouthing anyone online, so they just kind of let it be. Maybe they did something wrong, so they don't, they don't want to be posting stuff out there. So maybe there's some hesitancy to report negative feedback, but the lack of feedback to me is kind of a sign that maybe I need to tread lightly here, maybe lower my expectations.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at apps, if it's bad to say, I guess, but if it has less than 4 stars, I'm not really inclined to try it out, to give it a review or whatnot.
Right.
But in the same token, I know that they're adding 50 to 100 apps every month, and a lot of them probably can't get reviewed as fast as people are trying them.
Right. Well, there's like 1,500, 1,600 apps
total
out there.
Apps now, so
how many of them are really heavily deployed, used a lot, that fully vetted? And again, it's difficult because you've got all these different localizations and countries, and there's a new version every month that comes out, and major releases every 6 months. Yeah. So there could be potentially a lot of maintenance and upkeep on keeping these things current. But yeah, I still as an end user, right, there's a certain level of, you're like assuming I'm gonna install it. It says it's free. I can get it now.
Yeah, it didn't say free trial, none of that, right? It was free. It said get it now, which meant it was free. And this is last night I prepared for the podcast, and I probably spent 30 minutes just going through AppSource trying to pick out an app, you know? So then I found one. I'm like, all right, this is great. And then when it didn't work, I was so upset.
So you registered it, so you had to submit something.
I downloaded it.
To the developer that said that you downloaded it, right? They have your.
Well, I downloaded it. Yeah, when you first sign up, you download it just like any other app. And then I went to the setup page, and it said I do not have access to this page because I do not have a trial or a subscription. So right then and there, I almost blew my top as it was. So then I went through and I signed up for the 7-day subscription, which I thought was not a lot to begin with.
Yeah.
And went through, submitted it, put all my information in. Nothing happened. Still no access. Tried out the different pages that are associated with the plant maintenance. It said the same thing, no access. Waited for like an hour for an email. Got nothing.
Surely by now, though, you got to follow up and it's working.
All day today, I didn't see anything. Yeah, surely by now. Yeah. I have not seen one yet, but we've been doing the podcast for an hour or so, hour and a half. So maybe, but that leads us into them, which is, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but AppSource isn't the only place to get qualified apps for Business Central. I know many partners as well develop their own apps.
Yep.
Which we have as well.
Yep.
And frankly, they might just, they might even be better because the partner has Business Central knowledge.
Yep. Yeah, we know of several organizations that maybe they have some sort of software solution, and they have an integration with Business Central, which is an app, right? Because there's fields or tables that they put inside Business Central to manage the integration. But if you were to go to AppSource, you're not going to see it, right? But if you're working with that company, they would say, oh yeah, we have an app for Business Central. And then, you've established a relationship with them and they'll then send you that app, right? And it's, it's about creating a relationship with a company, trusting them, and again, doing your due diligence and installing it first in a sandbox environment to make sure it works and it's not going to blow up or not going to,
right. Not works with your other apps or whatnot.
Yeah. So I think you still have to do all that stuff, but yeah, you can, and this is like, I've heard, people out there saying, you should only ever install an app that's registered from AppSource, right? Through AppSource. Like, don't ever use apps that aren't registered because that means that they're, they haven't been vetted or approved by Microsoft. I just don't agree with that. I think there's companies out there that may, for whatever reason, they don't want to register their apps through AppSource. They want better control over it. They don't have the time or frankly the investment to go through the amount of time and effort that it takes to register an app currently through AppSource. Maybe more than a company is willing to invest, right? Like, here's a good example. Let's say I created an app and it's like a vendor performance report, right? How are my vendors performing on their on-time deliveries, right? That's one report, right? If I were to develop that report, it might take me 10 hours, let's say, to build that report. Let's say that's $500. Do I really want to invest thousands of dollars to get that registered through AppSource so I can sell it for how much?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are thinking, oh, you fill out a piece of paper and you register it on AppSource and then you can put your app on AppSource. But you're also talking about like the back end, right? How you charge customers for the app. What happens if they stop paying, how do you cut the app off, that type of thing. There's a
You
lot
have to have
more
a
into it.
licensing model
Exactly.
created. You have to have a testing plan submitted. I mean, don't get me wrong. Going through AppSource, yeah, there's a ton of hoops people have to jump through that make sure that those apps are generally, there's a certain criteria that has been met
Right.
to get those on there. But if you talk to someone else, I wouldn't necessarily be hesitant if you talk to someone and say, hey, we've got this great app. Here's what it does. We can install it in your Business Central Online environment. I don't think the position should be, sorry, we only use AppSource based app.
Yeah.
Right. I think you want to be open-minded, consider that there are a lot of partners, a lot of companies out there developing apps for Business Central that haven't gone through AppSource.
Yeah. Now you might be able to correct me if I'm wrong in this. I think a lot of people think that just because the app is on Microsoft AppSource, that it is certified by Microsoft. I don't think that's considered certified by Microsoft, right? Like in years past, they used to certify certain ISVs, right? Their platform, or whatever.
Yep.
I think when you put an app on AppSource, I don't think that's Microsoft saying it's certified app. I think you just, I don't know how to explain it.
It's a term, like, right, what does certified mean? Well, certified means that companies have generally, they do review the code. They make sure you've kind of generally followed best practices for how to develop stuff.
Mhm.
That you've included documentation, that you have included a test plan.
Yeah.
That you have you've submitted how you're going to price it.
Yeah.
Right.
But you're not getting the stamp of approval saying this 100% works.
No.
Right.
No. Right. Like, for example, if I create an app that does some sort of configuration of sales order lines, is Microsoft verifying that app is going to work with the prepayments feature?
No.
No. Or that you can do a purchase return?
Right.
They're
not actually trying it out,
They're
I'm
not,
assuming. They're just looking at, they have a template probably that they follow,
Yeah.
a checklist or
does it
whatever.
meet all of these criteria? They've submitted, training video, marketing
Right.
slides or whatever, and so on. So, I think that the message is just, AppSource is great, and it's great to see so many apps out there. And I just recently was surprised. I went to go search for something, and I was surprised that there was actually like 3 different apps available for this functionality that I was looking for. And I'm like, wow, I didn't even know there was one, let alone 3 different companies that offer something for this.
It's changing quickly.
So it is great, and it's great to see more out there. But I think if there's 1,600 apps that are available on AppSource, there may be 10,000 apps that have been developed by other partners out there that they're implementing and using at client sites that aren't registered through AppSource at this point.
I agree. You know what I think we should do? I think for our next podcast, I think we should maybe talk about, like 6 or 7 apps that we've actually developed that aren't on AppSource.
Yeah.
And just let people know, and maybe, let them build a little bit of trust, let them know, what our process was, what we were thinking, why they were done or whatnot.
Exactly. Right.
Just to show them that it happens all the time.
And I think when you see that, it'll be a good, to tie back to this segment, to show how, here's what this app is, here's what it does.
Yep.
Now look, maybe when you add them all together, there's value there where someone would be willing to pay a certain amount a month. But for each one of them on its own, it's like, okay, well, that's a pretty straightforward app. Yeah. Right. So it's not worth going through the exercise of getting out on an AppSource.
And if you don't believe us, go on our website, download the Smart Comments app for free, put it in your sandbox environment, try it out. It'll work like a charm. Mwah. All right, well, that almost wraps it up. We just got we've got a review of the Budweiser beer still. And actually, I guess we could talk about one of our next podcasts. We're going to have a special guest, or should we just?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just talk about it. All right, so on our next podcast, we're actually going to be sitting down and chatting with the general manager of Business Central. That actually, his name is Mike Morton. So we're looking forward to that. It's going to be a good time, and hopefully, not hopefully, I'm sure he'll provide some good insight into Business Central. Plus, it's right around the release date of October for the 2021 release wave 2.
Absolutely. And if anyone has any questions that they would like us to consider asking to Mike during that, I mean, as the general manager of Business Central, he certainly has probably more insight of what's coming down, up next for us than anyone.
Yeah.
So if anyone has any questions, feel free to submit them to us.
All right. So that's on next month's podcast. But in the meantime, Ken, what are you going to give Budweiser?
65.
65?
65.
Oh, it's pretty low. I don't know what I'm going to give it. 65. I mean, I guess maybe we should start distinguishing whether we're judging based on, groups of beers.
That makes it too complicated.
Makes it too complicated. All right.
This
So
is just how much do I like it? I could go 70, but I'm gonna go 65 just because for a typical like lager beer, there's a bunch of other ones I'd go to first.
Yeah.
So.
All right. I'm gonna go 71. It's not bad, not great, but goes down easy. To me, it tastes just like Miller Lite or whatever, but I don't drink these domestic beers enough to be able to distinguish between them.
Right.
And on that note, we're going to sign off, and I'm going to finish
Let's
the
do
last
that.
shot. You too?
Yeah.
All right, Ken.
Shot in a beer.
Shot in a beer. All right, everybody. We shall. Ooh, that one was pretty strong. We'll talk to you next month. So,
Bye-bye.
as we end today's podcast, we want to give a big thank you to everyone who listens, shares this podcast, and leaves us reviews. You've taken a good amount of your time out of your day, and we truly appreciate it. Thanks again. And don't be afraid to email us at marketing@solsyst.com with your tips for the podcast, or maybe you'd even like to be a guest during an episode.